Oh, what's going on, GameLeapers? This is Coach Cheeks, and in today's video, we're going to be talking about the 10 most underrated champions for the upcoming 12.7 patch, and there are some very interesting picks in here, so make sure you watch the whole video to know exactly who these are, and also, if you haven't already, make sure to check out the GameLeap website in the description and comment section, and I could say what lots of other YouTube channels say, where we talk about the videos we have, the exclusive content, but the fact is, you guys have me, the world's best coach, giving you weekly, if not daily, high elo VOD analyses that will teach you what the best do that so many people don't, so check out the website links in the description and comment section and get signed up if you want to achieve your goals this season. And let's get into the 10 underrated champions for 12.7. Now, starting off at number 10, we have a champion who's going to really like the Gale Force change coming in next patch, and this is Twitch. But you might be like, if I play Twitch, I'm not going to go Gale Force, and you'd be right, well done. But the point here is that because you're a bot laner, Gale Force is built most often in the bot lane. So these champions like Jinx, like Caitlyn, like Jhin, because the cooldown on Gale Force is active, the dash is now going to be close to 2 minutes, these champions don't have the dash to escape your ultimate, and therefore they are more accessible. Because for Twitch, really like your big weakness is actually getting outranged by some of these champions, and sometimes they are able to escape because of Gale Force. Against a Jhin, for example, the only way he gets out of your ultimate and survives is by using the Cloudburst active. But now because of the nerf, it's going to mean we're going to get way more kills, and Twitch at the moment as well is actually doing very well in terms of win rates in every single elo, so Kraken Slayer Twitch is definitely going to be a force next patch and underrated. Now, beating him to the number 9 position, we're going to talk about a top laner who isn't really going to benefit from any buff in 12.7, but he's just flying under the radar as being very good, and this is Aatrox, and that is thanks to the buff a few patches ago where if you land the key part of your Qs, you will deal extra damage. This is really nice for Aatrox players who know how to play this champion, and in the last couple of patches, his win rates have actually improved because really the only people playing Aatrox are those Aatrox mains, and they are showing us that if you can master this AD spellcasting top laner, the dividends are very big. So if you can put the time into Aatrox to learn his matchups, to learn his mechanics and his micro, it is definitely worth it. Now, coming in at number 8, we're going to head back to the bot lane here, and I'm honestly really excited for this pick because, to be honest, I find this champion challenging and therefore fun. That's just the way I am. And for all you Kalista mains out there, because your base mana is going up and your base movement speed and attack speed per level, more importantly, 12.7 is looking very juicy indeed. And I really want to focus on the base movement speed buff, so it's going up by 5, which doesn't sound like a lot. This is your Aurelia meme change, but this is going to be legit for Kalista because movement speed is really just such a huge part of your kit. Because really what this champion is about is kiting the enemy champions. You need the movement speed, you need mobility. This is going to give you a better chance of doing so. And then the attack speed per level, well, think about it. Because attack speed for Kalista really generates movement speed, this is super useful as well. So a bit like Aatrox, I think if you can pilot Kalista at a decent-ish level, you are going to froth these changes. The mana buff as well might come in handy because sometimes we do screw up the mana refund from our E, and sometimes we do throw out Qs a bit too often, so we can maybe be a bit more liberal with our abilities during the laning phase. But overall, 12.7 looks really good. Any Kalista mains out there, let me know in the comments exactly what you think. Now, beating all of these to number 7 on the countdown, we're heading to the top lane here and talking about Vladimir, who really hasn't received any love this season, but at the moment, Vlad's win rate in Challenger anyway in the top lane is 55%. And even though it might not be 55%, even if you go down to Diamond and Platinum, it's well above 50%. So Vlad in the top lane, why has he all of a sudden become really good? And perhaps the biggest reason why Vlad is actually liking the top lane at the moment is probably because of the TP change at the start of the season. Lots of people didn't actually realize what this meant, because for top laners right now, the strongest ones anyway, are those who take 2 combat summoner spells. And for Vladimir, 1 combat summoner spell along with your flash is actually super useful, and this is Ghost. Because the movement speed when you pair this with flash and even like your rocket belt active, it gives you mobility, it gives you engage, it gives you kite, so if you do get ganked in the top lane, it's very hard to kill you. And so it's an excellent versatile rune. But you might be like, well, I'm giving up TP, what's the point of this, especially on a scaling champion? Well, yes, TP will keep you in the game in terms of gold and experience, so you're not going to miss waves under your tower, especially against strong early game champions. So if we think of a champion like Zed or Darius or maybe Riven, these champions for Vladimir, because our cooldowns are longer and we don't really have the damage to one-shot them, these lanes are definitely harder. But even with flash, we still might die to them. So Ghost gives us a much better opportunity of actually surviving and still being able to play the lane afterwards. Because if we get ganked or jumped on, we probably have to flash and then we TP back, and it's really just a waste. We can stay in lane and still stay healthy enough and even beat these enemy champions in the 1v1, and Ghost anyway has insane scaling. The movement speed you get in the late game, it's so beneficial for Vlad, so he comes in at number 7. Now, coming in at number 6 on the countdown is perhaps the most deadly and scariest full clearing junglers on the Rift, and in 12.7 he will be even scarier because he's getting buffed, and this is Karthus. So what's happening in 12.7 is that the Q monster modification damage is going from 85% to 95%. So if you can't do the math, that is a 10% increase in damage, and this is significant for a full clearer like Arthas who loves to farm camps. That's how most people play this champion, so the fact you'll be clearing your camps quicker is super nice. And it's not just useful for your early game, because you will be clearing camps quicker. Essentially, you'll be getting golden experience quicker. So what you're doing is accelerating yourself to your mid to late game spikes. In other words, your items, because you'll be power farming even quicker. And this includes stuff like scuttle crabs, dragons, even the enemy junglers camps. So this is a serious buff and should not be underestimated. And I think it's going to push Karthus back into being OP in 12.7. Now, starting off the top 5 of this countdown, we're actually going to stay with the jungle here and talk about a champion. Well, he's not actually getting buffed in 12.7, but he is going to be insanely good and better than Karthus, to be honest. And this is Nocturne. And ever since Riot changed those 12.3 bruiser items, so we're talking Black Cleaver, Mora Malmortius, Death's Dance, it has pushed Nocturne in the right direction. Also, the fact that earlier this season his Q's AD ratio got a buff in terms of damage based off the AD you build, this means that the 12.3 items which are giving you more attack damage are even more valuable because you will be hitting harder. Also, lethal tempo on Nocturne is so good because when you jump on an enemy champion with your paranoia, you get more attacks off because of the attack speed, and when you pair this with Stride Breakers active, even though it's not the 90% slow it once was, it's still big enough to slow the enemy mid laner, the enemy AD carry enough so you can land your fear, your tempo auto attacks, and your Q, which is dealing more damage. So Nocturne in the jungle in 12.7, really underrated, and we've even seen him picked at the moment and in last patches as well in some pro games, so he is a jungler who you can definitely carry on. Now for the next pick at number 4, we're heading back to the bot lane here and talking about an AD carry who, a bit like Twitch, is really going to value the Gale Force nerf. Because for Ashe, who doesn't go Gale Force, I know, sounds a bit weird, but exactly like Twitch, because the Jins of the world, because the Jinxes, the Caitlyn's, any champion who builds Gale Force is more accessible. Now why is this important for Ashe? Well, think about it. Her ultimate, and the ultimate buff a couple of patches ago, where it's traveling a little bit faster the longer it travels, this becomes even more potent when you think about the Gale Force nerf in 12.7. With 110-second cooldown on the active, on the dash, for Ashe's ultimate, the Enchanted Crystal Arrow, you will be throwing these out and the enemy AD carry won't have the cooldown up to dodge that ultimate, which will spell their death, guarantee it. So Ashe with Kraken Slayer, you don't even have to go Shield Bow with Wit's End, which was the typical route. You can actually go Kraken Slayer with PD. It's actually a very strong setup, and we talked about it in yesterday's top 10 builds video for 12.7, so make sure you check out that if you haven't already. But Ashe comes in at number 4. Now number 3, we're actually staying in the bot lane here and talking about a support who is the one and only support of the countdown, but still one of the strongest champs on the Rift, and to be honest is played nowhere near enough, and this is Taliyah as a support. So really the whole gist of this is that Taliyah with her passive, it makes her one of the best roamers because of the innate movement speed you get. And then if you think about your ultimate, how can you not roam around the map and just dominate? Because the support role for a while now, especially in solo queue, has been evolving into more of a roaming champion. That's probably the best way you can actually 1v9 as a support, especially if your teammates are feeding. So Taliyah, because of the agency she has on the map, has to be in consideration here. And even if we just think about the laning phase, your Q gives you good shoving potential, so you can get to level 2 first, you can have the push, the pressure, and also the poke allows you to control those bottom brushes. Then if we think about your seismic shove, so your W, it has a lot of kill pressure. If you have a jungler with some sort of CC like a J4, you land your W, 100% kill. And it can also be used to peel the enemy champions off your AD carry. So super underrated champion, Taliyah fills the number 3 position. Now coming in at number 2 on the countdown is a champion who is not actually getting directly buffed in 12.7, but he will be flexing the abs even more in 12.7 because Umbral Glaive is getting buffed, so it's costing 2300 gold, that's a 100 gold decrease, and the cooldown for the passive, where you get vision of those wards, it's going down 10 seconds. Now for a roaming champion in the mid lane like Pantheon, you could play this in the top lane, but I don't think it's as effective because you have less access to the rest of the map. In the mid lane, you can go top, you can go into the enemy jungle, you can go to the bot lane to dive, to gank. There are a lot more routes you can take. So with Umbral Glaive, you can roam around the map with your jungler, killing wards, grinding vision for your team, denying vision from the enemy team. It's going to be deadly on Pantheon in the mid lane, and this champion, to be honest, has kind of been forgotten about. Lots of AD champions seem to be more popular, so Yone, Yasuo, who are both getting buffed. We have Zed, Kiana, Talon, whereas Pantheon has kind of been left behind, but definitely not in terms of strength. The next patch, an Umbral Glaive rush Pantheon mid lane is just free LP. But maybe it's not going to be as free LP as the number 1 champion on this countdown, and that's how the countdown works, of course. And this is Wukong, guys, but I'm not actually talking about Wukong in the top lane, which will still be much better because your Q cooldown is going down by a second at each rank. Your W's cooldown is also going down at later ranks, and your E's AP ratio is going up if you wanted to go AP Wukong. But for Wukong, your E is going to deal more damage to monsters, and what's great about your W is not the cooldown getting reduced at later ranks, because you will be maxing this last, so it's not the most important buff. But guess what? Your W is going to allow you to go over walls. Are you legit? As a jungler, think about Wukong in the jungle with this buff. You can W over the Baron Pit, over the Dragon Pit, around the blue buff walls, everywhere. Name a wall, you can go over it. This is going to give you so many more ganking opportunities and make you such a force on the map. And for Wukong, who is an amazing jeweler in the jungle, because of the attack speed in your E, your Q cooldown is also going down now, remember, which is great because you can probably get multiple Qs off during these skirmishes. It's going to be insane. So any Wukong mains out there, let me know in the comments what you think of this. Any jungle mains, any of you in the comment section, let me know what you thought of the countdown and the champions on it. And I will see you guys in tomorrow's daily season 12 upload. This has been Coach Peace.